Good afternoon, everyone. So today we'll be looking at a topic, developers handoff. So this is one of the most important topic as a designer that you should know. This is when you are working with your developer. All right. So you need that relationship with your developer so that your developer can actually bring out those beautiful design that you did. Okay, so what you will learn today is what a developer handoff is and why it is important, and how to organize and prepare clean, developers friendly design files, and how to export and optimize assets in correct formats, and document iterations. All right, document interactions and responsive layouts clearly. So how to document that? Okay, so first, what is developers handoff? So a developer's handoff is the process of transferring the final design from the design team to the development team, so it can be built into functional products. Right. So these steps bridges the gap between design and code, ensuring developers understand every details they need, like layouts, assets, interactions, and specifications to accurately implement the vision. All right. So imagine that you spend hours perfecting beautiful designs, and then you now send it to developers, and a week later the button is the wrong color, the spacing feel off, and the over animation you loved is now nowhere to be found. All right. So that's what happens when there is no handoff entirely, or when you actually did a handoff but it was sloppy. All right. So so why is this important? All right, why is developers kind of important? So it prevents misinterpretation. So developers don't have to guess spacing, colors, or components behaviors. So let's break this down. So when you hand off properly, that's what we say prevent misinterpretation. So developers don't actually have to guess what you meant or what you were trying to do. All right. So they will know exactly the spacing you intended, and also the exact shade of brand color, and how a component should behave when clicked or when hover on. Okay, so think of it as giving them a treasure map with a landmark clearly drawn. So not just a vouch X marks the spot. All right. Then we say number two that it saves time. All right. So very unclear design means another Slack message. All right. Another call, another email chain, and when you now get calls here and there, right? So you'll get messages like, hey, this margin eight is this margin 8 pixel, or is it 10 pixel, or is it 12 pixel? So but with a clear handoff, those endless back and forth questions will disappear, and developers can now build without pausing every 5 minutes to ask for clarifications. All right. So number three, it ensures consistency. This aligns the final product with the original design intent. All right. So when there is no handoff, or when we have a sloppy handoff, so it's like playing a telephone. All right. Which your original design vision gets distorted by the time it is coded, right? But when you have a detailed and organized handoff, this will keep the final product exactly as planned, or exactly as designed, or as imagined. So it will have same style, it will have same interactions, and it will feel the original feelings. All right. We also have that it improves collaboration. So this strengthens communication between designers and developers, right? So we say a good end of isn't just a file transfer, right? So it's like a conversation. when you hand over when your handover is clear and is well documented, developers have trust in you, and then you also trust them, and the whole workflow will seem like a teamwork instead of a tug of war. I remember while in the process of this my internship with Code House, I happened to I was a designer. Okay, so I designed with a lot of animations at that time. So, and one of the developers actually threatened me. He was like, Benjamin, if I catch you outside, the way I will beat you. Why? Because there was no good handoff, and I did not tell them how the interactions was going to be. So it was as if also the animations I was using at the time was too cumbersome for them. Right, so that is the reason when having it's good to have handoff. All right, so when having this handoff, walk them through and then also ask questions from them. Is it possible that this animation, or is it possible that this design I'm doing, this iteration that I'm bringing in, or this functionality that I'm bringing in, is it possible that this can be um, this is feasible? All right. So it is one thing for us to design and also to be creative. It's another thing to actually ask these developers, is this feasible in the standpoint of development of codes? Right. It's not just about that Figma has given us this ability to turn things around, turn things in 360, or make things work the way it does. But think about the code. You can see a one, just you clicking on click, or after delay 100 milliseconds, this should happen. That might just be you just type and clicking on things. But when it comes to development, it can take 1,000 line of codes for that to actually work. Okay, so let's let's work on that. So we said, when does this happen? When does developers handoff actually happen? All right. So picture this, that you've been redefining or refining a design for weeks, and you've tested it, you've tweaked it, and you've defended it in front of stakeholders, and now you are pinching to pass it over to developers. But hold on, um, the handoff isn't just whenever you feel done. All right, there is a right moment for it. So handoff should happen after the design is approved by stakeholders. Then all iterations and usability testing are complete, all assets and specifications are ready for export. So when I say the design is approved by stakeholders, so no matter how much you love it, and the decision makers um, have to give the thumbs up first. All right, so think of it as giving the green light before merging into the highway. So when I say all iterations and usability testing are complete, so this means you've already run it through user testing, you've made changes and polished the details. All right. So if you hand it off before testing, you risk sending developers down a path you will have to reverse later. So all assets and specifications are ready to for exports. That means you need to have your icons, your images, your fonts, the style guides, everything dev needs should be neatly packaged and documented. Right? Basically, you are not just throwing them a half-baked cake mix. All right, you are giving them all the pre-measured ingredients and their recipes. So wait until you have these three boxes checked. All right, until the three boxes have been checked, then in this way you are not just making developers happy, you are saving your own future from endless hoops. You need to redo these headaches. All right, then what are the key components of a successful developer sign off? So for it, you need dimension and spacing. So make sure that your margins, padding, and grid settings are crystal clear. If you say just highball it, I guarantee it won't look like your design. You need your typography. That means your font sizes, weights, line height needs to be there. So you're not just saying use this font, but you're saying use 16 pixel for an example, regular for body text, use 24 pixel bold for heading. So that is what we mean by clear design specifications. Then when we are talking about your color values, all right, so give them the exact hex or g or rgb codes, all right, and also or variables from the style guide. Also, you can also give them reference variables, all right, from style guide, as I've said. So it shouldn't be, it's a kind of blue, or it shouldn't be kind of yellow. So it should be yellow, and this yellow, this is it. All right, just saying it's kind of yellow and blue, or just saying blue without the hex or RGB codes is doesn't just cut it. All right, it doesn't solve the problem for this set of persons. Please confirm you can still hear me. All right, thank you. So we also have component states. So while doing it, give them states like uh hover state, active, disabled, error state, and also let your design have, if you are doing for web, let it have a responsiveness um breakpoint, all right, for all screens like mobile, tablets, and desktops. All right, so we said key components. So the components one here is that you should have clear design specification, which we have listed this. So the second one is it should have asset delivery. Right, so you're basically giving them the tools to build exactly what you have designed. So this includes icons and images in correct sizes and formats. So this can be in svg, it can be in png, it can be in webp. So it's in illustrations and backgrounds. So optimize file for performance. All right, so this last part, most times we designers, we don't do that. We don't optimize our files. All right, so we just give them as bogus as it is, as large as it is, for designers or for developers to use in their, and this is now going to make the workload, is now going to make the um is now going to make the website load is to be slacky while loading. Right, it's not going to be optimized well. So optimize your file. All right, so you don't just want to your app to be loading like it is when apps were being built in the late 20s. All right, sorry, early 20s, right, like 2000, 2003. And so you want it to be as 2024, 2025, 2027 kind of app. So it should be fast while loading. So this is why you need to optimize your files. All right, so this the third one is you should have an interaction. Your interaction should be documented. All right, your animations and transitions, durations, easing curves. All right, so don't just say at this point this fades in. Tell them fades in over, let's say, 300 milliseconds with ease in and out. So this is going to help them while coding it. All right, so when you are doing click and over behaviors, all right, so you should tell them what changes when someone interacts with what. Is it when someone interacts with the color, or is it when, or does icons swap in whenever, or what happens? Then your navigation flow, map out how users moves from one screens to another. All right, so this is going to keep DFs from guessing the joining. Okay, we optimize there is a website that does that. So you just upload your documents or your files to it, and it's going to optimize that for you. So I think we're going to look into that today too. All right, so the fourth one is your design system reference. So have links or include UI kits, component libraries, and style guides for consistency. So this Figma has done that easy for us. So everything here we can always have it in Figma. All right. So apart from in most cases where we need to sorry, in most cases where we need to, in terms of assets, we need to now use external software or external applications like Google Drive for this in terms of images, all right, so that they can get it. All right, so we have tools for Eindhoven. We have Figma, we have Zippings, we have avocodes, and then we have storybooks. But Figma has made it easier for us designers, for us to um, do this. Because if let's not even imagine, Figma is a paid for you to actually use dev mode, which is one of the ways we can do handoff for developers. It is a paid plan. Then for you to have Zipline, so it is also a paid plan. But there is free, but it is also paid in some cases. So in this case, that means you need to pay for Figma. You also need to pay for Zipline. All right. So these are the major tools they use for handoff. So, but in this case, Figma has made it easier for us just to use Figma for everything we do. We have plugins that can help us do that. We have files in communities that can help us do our components documentation, handoff easily, inspect panels, etc. Um, right. So let's look at what are the best practices. Right. So what are the best practices? So the best practice is number one, organize your files for clarity. So this is you making it clear what is ready and what is not. So you don't just put everything together in one. So we have to make it crystal clear that what's ready to build and what is still cooking. All right. So try using page name like well, with emojis. Most times it's not necessary. So you can have in progress. That's where you are still brainstorming, ready for feedback. That is, oh yes, we have, this is what is ready for your, this is where your stakeholders, your PM, project managers comes in to check. And then also we have ready for build or ready for development. So we have, now this is where your developers just go into, so that they don't get distracted with a lot of UIs. All right. So this is an example. So we have Cash App. So this is our Cash App, and then this is Dropbox. This is how they organize their pages in Figma. So you can see cover. To me, cover is very important because in cover we have, cover is like thumbnail. All right, it is thumbnail. So this is you. This is where you have your design logo. This is where you have your design, sorry, your project name, your project logo, then who is doing it. This is going to help in when you are displaying your files, right? This is when your files is displaying on your Figma homepage. So instead of you just having random things like that, you now have that cover to show there, and then also make your work neat. All right. So this is how Cash App does theirs, and this is how Dropbox does theirs. Okay, so let's look at a case study here, a case study of Cash App. So we say, just as I've explained, they put all their final polished design into components on a clean page, and that the page meant for just developers. So they have that section. All right. So we say that your design files can be messy. All right. You can have layers everywhere, have finished frames, notes, scribed all over the places. All right. So to a developer or anyone who is not a designer, jumping into that will now see chaos. All right. So there will be nothing to review or then nothing to work on. So it will feel like a teenager's bedroom door, so which is always overwhelming and slightly scary, right? So if you look at most times teenagers door, you see all stickers. I think when I was young, on the door to my room, I used to put in stickers, all these football stickers, all these chewing gum stickers, and the rest. So that is how developers will feel in when they come into a workspace that is messy. All right, so we can now see that in this process, so Cash App team ran into this problem while they were doing this, and then they came up with this particular clever fix. So they have final design should go into clean pages. So let's go back to it. I can now see that for Cash App, which is at our left side, we have cash card onboarding. So this is we have presentation. Presentation is just like we can now see presentation is like this is where you want developers to work on. So that's how they name theirs. And also we have working. So this is where they are working. Scrapped is we can say scrap to be where they have versions of their iterations. If you look at my right, where you have Dropbox, so you can now see they have iterations where they have version 4, version 3, version 2, and version 1. So these are the iterations that they have. Demo version, that's their version 3. That is, well, this is how they organize their everything. All right. So why do we have actually have to do this? So this is going to help us in for less confusion, and also less wasting of time, and also developers are going to be happy, and then and also stakeholders. So let's look at Expedia also as a case study. So if we look at Figma, I think, do I have that image here? Do I think I don't. If you look at Figma, when we are using dev mode, I'm going to show us that particular section where we are going to the practical part of this. So if you are looking at dev mode, you have this particular section that they have explore components behavior. All right. So which was formerly known as go to master components. So when a developer clicks on this is where developer can find original source components, and then can find, make sure that on that particular section you have documentation, and then also have variants and also states of those components. All right. So so this is what Expedia does. So for them to document it, so they have what they call name, description, when to use it, and also accessibility notes. All right. So you can also call it annotations. All right. So all right, so yeah, so this is what I just explained now. So to keep your components documentation frame, so keep it with name, description, users instruction, accessibility notes. So pro tip: always invite developers to the library containing the master components. So this is going to save you from the I can't see the component complaints. All right. So this is one way to actually solve this. Right. So and also the second thing is, the first thing, remember, let's not get distracted. The first thing is that you should make it clear what is ready and what is not. Right. So the I said organize your files for clarity. Right. So the second thing is use version control. So most of us don't know that there's this functionality on Figma. Right. So this is going to keep track of changes that you do. Right. So in Figma, version controls let you saved name versions with at key milestones, roll back to any other older versions instantly, and then see what changes or who changed what and when this changes made. So projects, um, name yourself versions. Example, post usability testing version 2 or final design stakeholders approved. So this saves you from scrolling through a graveyard of um, untitled versions. Okay. So the third thing to do here is communicate early. Avoid last minute line marks. All right. So at what times for a developers to hear about a design decision is always at the final handoff. Right. If you wait till the final handoff to bring them in, you are opening the door to comments like, are you sure this animation is possible with a current textile, or this layout is going to break on smaller screens? So when you involve developers early, this is going to help them spot technical limits before becoming an expensive problems, and also get feedback that will also improve your design. Most times developers have eyesight for design too. Most times designers, while designing, we miss out on some basic functionalities. We miss out on some characters that were supposed to be there. But when you bring in developers into it, they now bring in their ideas, and then you can now see you are going to get a better design, or a better product, or a better application. All right. So avoid massive rework. That this is going When you involve them easily, it's going to avoid massive rework, which is now going to um, save time. Right. So there's going to be it's going to now save time, and it's going to also save budgets too. Right. All right. So I think all right. So think of it like when you communicate earlier, all right, think of it like planning a road trip. All right. So you wouldn't map out the whole route, booking all the hotels, and then you now tell your travel body they are driving. All right. So bring them into the plan from the start so that the joining will be smooth for the both of you. Okay. Then there's fourth thing is naming styles for context. All right. Um, this is one of the sneakiest way to either make developers love you or actually make them curse your name. All right. So if you name your styles, that is, if your color palette says blue one, your color palette says blue two and blue three. So you're basically forcing the developers to play color bingo. Right. So think primary light, primary dark instead. All right. So also had short description about when to use each. This is going to make it easier for developers to match them directly with codes variable or with design tokens. Okay, so here is your pro move. Add a short description, as I've said earlier, all right, to make the to each style, explaining when and how to use it. Okay, so this is going to make it dead simple for developers to match your design styles directly to code variables or actually your design tokens, which is going to mean faster, which is going to actually make the process faster and more consistent. All right, so think of it like labeling your kitchen ingredients. All right, so if you just write powder, so the chef has to sniff into guess whether it's a sugar or salt. So sometimes they'll have to guess wrong and sometimes they guess right. All right. So use your code panel. So here is one of the Figma best secrets for developers, kind of the code panel. All right. So in the right hand sidebar, so when inspecting elements, developers can view CSS and Shape and XML directly from Figma. So all right, so here is the kicker. So they can export assets without a paid license. So this is if you've not already exported assets to them, so they can export it there directly. And then if you want to go extra mile, you can add relevant links to your actual code base or repo. So this is actually an advanced section of it. All right. All right, collaboration and trust. So I'm going to let you into one of the biggest secrets of the developers' relationship with designers. So this might be the most important part of development, kind of. All right. So if you want a great relationship with your developer, if you want to have trust or you want to trust both ways, you need to do developers kind of. All right. So when developers are involved early, it is not just about saving time. It's all about building trust. So they see why you made certain design decisions and not just the polished final, right? So and and that means more accurate build because they understand the why and not just the what. All right, so you have fewer misunderstanding. That's because you've been talking to them all along while the process of you designing. And then you also have faster problem solving because when a challenge comes up, you already have a shared language and a context. Okay, so I remember I was involved in a design. I think recently. So it's about designing an application for a client, right? So in the process, my thought was not the same way the developer was thinking. Why? Because I did not involve the developer on time. So what happened was we had to jump on a call for me to explain this to him. Okay, so involve because what I wanted a particular element to do was not what the developer actually gave me. So there was no functionality at all. It was not doing what it's supposed to do. So while in the process of testing this with the stakeholder, testing this with the client, so we now saw that this was not working when we got feedback from. I now saw that this was not working. I now had to reach out to the developer And then I was like, this is not working. This is not what I wanted it to be. So it was like that he did not understand it too. Then we had to jump on a call. Then I had to explain the thought process to him. So you can now see, if I had done this earlier, it would have solved this problem of us coming back to this. Okay, so involving your developers early is now going to give a faster problem solving. All right. So so still on collaboration and trust. Okay, so think of it like you train, if you throw a bad handoff, so it's like throwing design all over a world and hoping it lands safely. Whereas it's a good handoff is like building a world together from the start so that nothing gets lost in translation. So the number 7 is test your handoff. All right, do a dry run before the big day. All right, so before you reach out to your developer, do the dry test it first. All right, so this is going to help you avoid surprises during the official handoff meeting. So like solving problems like missing assets, on documentation style, or documented styles, or forgotten states that can lead to last minute um scrambling. All right, so what is the solution? So how do we test this handoff? um how do we do the dry run? So pick a developer to test the file early, right? So pick a friendly developer to test that file. It can be your developer friend, or it can be the developers that is working on the project. So test the file first. All right, so you can walk through the file, all right, as if you were going to build it. All right, so you can tell this developer, if it's not the one building it, you can tell this your friend, and check this file. If you're the one building it, is this the way you feel the developer is going to understand it? All right, so let them click around, let them have them navigate as if they are as if building a design. All right, so let them click around, check spec, test component links, and also see if they can understand the design without your help. All right, then note any questions or confusions, take note of any questions or confusions they might have, then fix those gaps before the real handoff. All right, so think of it like rehearsing for a school play. All right, so think of it like a dress rehearsal to catch mistakes before the big show. So it could be like the big show can be a school play. So you want to find the missing lines, so before the audience is actually watching what you are doing. Right. So what are the common mistakes we are to avoid while doing handoff? So even the best design screens can cause headaches for developers if the pitfalls aren't avoided. So this is you leaving out interaction details. So if animations overstate or navigations flow aren't documented, um, developers are left guessing. All right, and that guesswork can lead to completely different final product. Right, avoid on optimize or incorrect asset formats. All right, so your assets should not be heavy. It should not be uncompressed images, or you should not have a wrong file types like sending JPEG instead of SVG for icons. All right, so this can slow down the build, or it can also hurt performance. All right, so avoid using inconsistent naming for components. So source like component 5, component v1, component v2 in place of button final, or in place of any other component, or call to action component, button, things like that. So inconsistency makes it harder for developers to link designs, all right, to codes. So not specifying responsive behavior. Okay, without guidance on how design should adapt across screen sizes, developers may improvise, and the results may not match your vision. So just like for mobile responsiveness, personally, when I'm designing for mobile responsiveness, I like my design to be all centered aligned. I like my elements to be centered aligned. All my text, all my icons should be centered aligned. Also, there are some designers that also like theirs to be left aligned, but personally I like mine to be centered aligned. So in that process, if you don't have this design for mobile responsive, you'll now see that developers will be left guessing on how where they should place each element, and which, if this icon should be center aligned, or it should be left aligned, or it should be right aligned. Okay, so delivering design without confirming technical feasibility. So this is sending designs that aren't realistic, all right, for the existing tech stack, which is now going to be costly in reworking later. So remember when I said earlier about the animation part of things that I used to do before? You can now see the modern designers now, they where they bring in animations into the web design is actually appealing. All right. So when doing this, ask your designer or ask your developer, sorry, is this feasible? Is this feasible? Most times it is always feasible, but the time frame of the project is what determines it. Oh, this time frame, is it possible for the designer or for the developer to actually make this work out? Okay, so when preparing for handoff, how do we prepare for handoff? Right? So create templates. This is the first thing to do. All right. This is the first thing to do. um, when it is time to hand off over your work to developers, your goal is simple: make it as easy as possible for them to get down to business. All right. Um, so let's discuss some of the best practice to ensure a smooth transition from design to development. Which number one, we have to be create templates. All right. So as a designer, you often work on reoccurring tasks or deliverables. So create handoff templates tailored to your aesthetics and workflow. For example, you can have a pre-structured design handoff document. So you can have a standardized annotation format. You can have assets export presets. All right. So having this will save you time and keep your handoff consistent. But in today, Figma has made it possible. It has made it very easy for us. Most times you don't necessarily need to go through all this. All those are there. Thank God for the community, the design community. They have been very helpful to design to the design community. All right, so they've made sure that we have plugins, and we also have community files to actually help in terms of design kind of. Right. So the second thing is, while preparing for end of, you have to annotate and explain. Right. So your developer will receive a lot of assets. Right. So don't just let them guessing what is what. All right. So use annotations and comments to explain design decisions, describe functionality, interactions, and system behaviors. Define responses to user actions, communications of results, and the overall user experiences. All right. Think of annotations like the user manual for your design. Okay. So avoid cutters. All right. So messy design slows everyone down. Present design neatly and logically. All right. Organize and label layers, frames, and pages. Provide developers editable assets ahead of time. Okay. And then also review your work. Final design review. Look at, before sending, double check: are all the links working? Are all permissions correct? So are there no typos? Does the imagery matches the intended section? Don't put an image of someone walking on the road when you're supposed to put an image of someone working on a computer. All right. So use the correct assets. Only the correct assets should be included in your documents before sending. All right. So we now have shared documentation. All right. So we said that shared documentation is your single source of truth while kind of. All right. This is where developers go to find everything they need without digging through random files or Slack messages. All right. So why does it matter? This keeps all assets, notes, and references in one place, and it reduces miscommunication and makes updates and changes easier to track. All right. So the best practice is choose one platform. We have Notion, we have Confluence, we have Google Drive. Google Drive is simple. That's what I use, and stick to it. So structure it logically by grouping them by sections like design, files and prototype, user flows and diagram, project overview, assets and style guides, annotations and dev notes. All right. Keep it updated, and then give clear access rights so that dev can view or edit. So in my own, I give them view access. The reason why I don't give my developers edit access is that most times developers can just come up to the file without knowing what to click. Most of them don't know how to navigate Figma. They don't use Figma, so they'll just maybe they can mistakenly click something on the computer or on their keyboard, and something will change. And now you coming to now go back to version control and then doing those iterations, you can now see it is going to waste time. All right. So think of shared documentation like a project control tower. All right. So if it is clear and well maintained, the whole team um, flies smoothly. So the number 5 is walkthrough meeting. All right. Whole end of meetings. So before sending deliverables, say scheduled a meeting with the design and developers team to walk through each assets you'll be sharing, explain where files can be found and how to navigate them, answer potential questions early. So if your developers are less familiar with tools like Figma or Zipline, give them a quick demo. So we are going to show you how to use it on Figma on this class. All right, in today. So the last thing is follow up support. All right, follow up support. Handing off your design doesn't mean your job is done. It means your role has shifted from being a creator to being a collaborator, right? So why is this important? Why is follow up support important? So this is going to that when developers may run into questions or roadblocks while implementations. So when you follow up, you can solve that. So clarifications will now prevent costly rework and maintain design integrity. So it's going to also ensure that the final product matches the vision that you planned, right? So how do we provide follow-up support? Stay available. This is respond quickly to developers' questions. Join QA sections. Um, offer visual references and document clarifications so that all team members see the answer. Then also be flexible. Sometimes small design changes are needed for performance or feasibility. So if a developer should tell you, this is the suggestion that I want, or this is how I feel this place should be, or this is how I feel users are going to feel while navigating this. This is how I feel they are going to use this particular product or this particular section, this particular flow. Be flexible, all right? Change it, all right? So think of follow-up support like customer service for your own design, all right? So you are making sure that users, that the developer can work without confusion, all right? So what are the key end of deliverables? So we have user flow. So this is showing where each flow fits in the product and how users would move through it. Okay, so this is going to help users or developers understand structure and sequences, especially in complex design with multiple logic paths, right? So we have types of user flow to be text flow, chat flow, and then also have screens and wire flows. Okay, so we also have prototype to be one of the key kind of deliverables, right? So a good prototype will show intended iterations. All right. So interactive prototype let everyone see and test how the product will work to achieve on use screens to avoid confusions. Use tools like Figma to link flows and interactions. All right. So we also have animations to be it. All right. Animations can be tricky to describe in words. Okay. So instead of that, show them how it is done. All right. Show them how it is done. Use GIF or short videos and to interpret this. Use Figma animation tools and export recordings for developers. All right. So the more you clarify doing kind of, the less rework later. All right, so a clean, well prepared handoff sets the tone for a smooth build, a smooth build first. So let's do a practical guide to developers handoff in Figma. So let's go into the practical section of this. Okay, please confirm you can see the Figma screen. All right, thank you. Okay, so remember when I said I spoke about cover when we spoke about Cash App using their how they when it's talk about cover. So let's go back to our own page. So if you look at here, this is it. This is the file. So it says developer development handoff. So you can see how it is being shown. So imagine this was the project. So you can now see, oh, that this is the project you're working on. So looking at this, you can now see where we have this particular part 5 button. You can now, or you can, yes, this is a thumbnail. You can now see this free from the community. But looking at this particular section where we have new, so you can see how it is. So instead of having this, so it's always advisable you create a cover, and then your cover should always be the first page. Yeah. All right. So now let's look at how I structure personally, how I structure my design handoff. So for my design handoff, I always have the first part here to be onboarding and references. So this is where I have my welcome and I also have my mood box. So for welcoming, I have what I call this is where I welcome. Hold on. So this is where I welcome my clients. All right. So this is where I have client name. So most of the clients they don't use Figma, so they don't know how Figma works. So and then while coming to it, they feel like they should drop a comment. They feel like they want to state no, this should not. They want to explain their thought. So this is what I do. I now say, yeah, give us your feedback directly on Figma by using the comment tool on the bottom center. Before now it was always at the top left. All right. So now Figma changed and now it is currently at the bottom center. So you can now see where we have this. Okay. So also instead of them using this, they can also click on C or click C on their keyboard, and then this is now going to bring up the bubble icon, which is your comment icon. So this is the first thing I do to my while doing my handoff, right? Note that you have I think 4 set of persons coming into this, or whereas in most cases 3 or 4. So you have your project manager. Your project manager will come. Your stakeholders will come. Your clients will also come, and then the developer himself will also come. Most times, I think quality assurance. All right, so that's the testers. Most times they don't really come to your Figma board. They just work with what the developers give them, and then and also I have the second screen I do have under this is always on mood board. So this is where I have all the inspirations that I need, where I can have icons, I can have where I can have images, and uh, um, most of how do I want my cat to look like, how do I want hold on, I need to open a file. There's a file I will need for this class. Hold on, let me open a file here. Okay, so I think I'll need that later on. So let me just load it up. So then the next thing I have here is always ready for development. So why is ready for development on top? So I always prefer having ready for development on top because I don't want developers to scroll all through that down through going to look for the. So I just want them to see it as one of the first thing that comes up when they open up so that they don't have to scroll down. So the next thing I also have is brand and style. So in most cases, if you are using the free part of Figma file, Figma. Yeah, you're using the free Figma. All right. So you always be given three. So what's happened when I was using the free file? What I do is I create the first thing is going to be my style guide. The second thing is now going to be my design. Then the third one is going to be my ready for development, which that is how that's if I use three. But when I'm using that's if I'm using a free. So but when I'm using a paid version, a professional version of Figma, so I now bring in my typography, my color, my icons, then I also have assets. So this my assets could be where I have images, I have components too, all right? So I like having those sections separately for separately for this. Then I also have where I have my design iterations. So this is where I have wireframings, which is my low fidelity sketch, and also how do I want it to do. You know what wireframing is? So my sketch, and also if you look at, I also have where I do my main design and also prototype. Ah, okay. I think sorry, there is a. I need to move my prototype to this section ready for development because um I want my design, my developers to now look at this ready for development and then also look at my prototype section. All right, my prototype section. This is where it's now going to show them how they are going to navigate the section. So for in my design and iterations, um, I'll have wireframes and also design. So I also have what we call file management. So this is where I have my drafts. So my drafts could be those that were being the design that were being that I was doing. So it could be version one, version two, version three. So my trash is where I actually after design. Oh yes, the client was like, no, it doesn't need this. Um, most cases, what we do is we delete it, but it is not the best practice. Carry your Take it down to a separate file. So on here I now have where I have file management, and I also have where I have my um trash. All right, so I put it there on my trash. Okay, so now let's go into the the development or the development kind of proper. So for the purpose of this, I just brought up this design from a design that is currently ongoing. So I don't think I did not do anything here for design kind of or development kind of. So I'm just going to show us how that can be done. So first of all, I told you arrange the work. This is not arranged. I just had to bring it up like this. This is not arranged. Segment your design. All right, segment it. So let's look at how do we do that. Okay. So hold on, please. Let me. Okay, so now let's section this our design. So first of all, you can now say I have that I want when a user click on, let's say from the website, this was an app, this is a web app though. So from the website, when a user clicks it, this is the first thing I want to be showing. I want it to load. Then from then, this is how it's going to appear. So this is what we are going to do. So I'm just going to take this. Then Figma has made it possible that um you segment your design by using frames. Hold on, let me take this up. Sorry, I don't get right. So by using frames, sorry, by using section. So we have section. You can see section by coming here. We have section frame. You can just press Shift S, which I prefer using shortcuts. Um, yeah, it helps my workflow very well. So make sure you name your frame. So you're just going to rename it to sign in. So I'm just going to call it sign in. Well, I can just put it this way, sign in. So you can name it however you want to. So I'm just going to bring in a I'm just going to bring in a file here. So I only want this created in this file. So from my assets, I have a title here. So I'm just going to bring this in. and then I'm going to drop it on top of here. So I need it to be big. All right, so on this section, so this is where I can now say this is my sign in. All right, so this is my sign in flow. Okay, so you can now say this is your sign in flow. You can either put it a description. All right, so let me reduce this. This is too big. Right, so also you can drag this towards the end just to make it look right. So you can add description. So this is the flow where users see first after clicking on the getting started call to action button on the website, or let's say on the landing page. All right, so this is a flow where users see first after clicking on getting started call to action button on the landing page, right? So thereafter you can now start in bringing in your flow. All right, so I'm just going to bring in first flow here, then I'll bring in the second one. Hold on, I like using 88, just or 40. Okay, so let's expand this again. So now I'm just going to explain something again while doing this. Then I also have this section here. Then let's take it down here, and then this is my last. Okay, I don't want it to be that big. All right, so let's look at this page. So I said this is my sign-in flow. All right, so when users click on that, this is where it now takes them to where now if you look at this is the first screen. Excuse me. This is the first screen a user is going to see while clicking on you can see my naming conversion. I said number 2, sign in default, right? Then if we see here that we have sign in with Google, and this is and my button is at a disabled state. Right, this is at a default or disabled state. All right, the property. So we have secondary, we have primary, this active state. Well, so I'm just going to maintain it at disabled. All right, so now this is when a user comes up first. This is the first thing the user sees. All right, so now I made it so that if a user type on this, so this is how it is going to appear, and then while clicking on my password, this is how immediately you start typing your password, the button is active. All right, so that's why you said since the button here is filled, or the icon, the input field here for password is filled, that's why this is being active. Then if you look at here, after clicking on this, you are now seeing the error state. Oops, incorrect password, try again. So I have all this here. Then I also have the success mode, which says login successful, which is this particular section. You can now see a loader here loading to tell, oh yes, this is, I can actually click out on this. So this is my success mode, and this is actually my failure state. So you can now see how this is now going to make it such that designers, or sorry, developers are now going to use this perfectly. So now let's go ahead to do same for another flow. Then let me just bring this down here. So this is going to, we are going to call this sign up, right? So this is going to be sign up, right? Sign up flow. So I'm just going to change this to sign up flow. So this is a flow where users click, where users see, yep, where users sees after clicking on what was the call to action, what was the what I used there. So we said already have an account, sign up, right? So when, so let's, so this is the flow where users see after clicking on after clicking already have an account and sign up. All right, so I can just have that to show here. So I'm just going to copy this or cut this, replace, cut this to replace, cut this to replace. Just going to, now in your own case, or in when doing the main handoff, please do not remove it from the design. All right, so when you're having your ready for development, just copy it out and then take it down to your ready for development section. This is where you do the main handoff. So you don't do it on your design just to keep your work perfect and neat. All right, you don't do it on the design section, you do it on your ready for development. So but this arrangement, please arrange it on your design. It's going to help you as a designer also while designing. So okay, so this is it. Think I don't need, there was no need to actually expand that. So this is when a user clicks on um so this is where it sees, and then this we have hint here. So we see this, we see, so this is an incorrect state of oops, your password does not match. So this is a situation where the password match, and then the button will now go through. All right, so we also have another flow here that we say forget your password. All right, so for forget password flow, I just need to fix this up. Okay, so I would have just do that for one, but let me just do it all at once. So you can see how this is. I'm just maintaining my, I like my stuff being aligned well. Okay, I love it being aligned well. So this is going to be forgot password. So I'm just going to rename it and say forgot password. Okay, I'm just going to copy this so as to maintain. So I'll leave this anyways. The description, copy, paste. This is forget password flow. So this is the flow where users see after clicking forget password. So most times this might not be necessary, but I just like putting this up here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this out. Just going to take this, and then take this. All right, so I'm just going to take this out. I don't need this particular screen here. All right, so we can now see this is my forget password, and well, yeah, no, this is my verification. Sorry, I think this is my bad. I didn't rename this. So verification. Sorry, account verification. Okay, so I'm just going to, let's say, so name your files well. So always name your files. So this is going to help your design your developers when to know where to go to. Okay, so account verification. So I have account verification for this section. I think I didn't actually make this a lot more. Okay, this is account verification, so I don't think that was necessary. Yeah. So this is, let me just leave this because of time. All right, so this is it. So the last thing here is forget password. So I'm just going to take this down here. Come in, need to take this out. All right, so uh, just going to put this again here. Okay, so I'm just going to expand this. Then we have the last flow here. I just, instead of expanding, if I move this, sorry, if I move this out, this expands automatically. Okay, so I've rearranged this. So this is forgot password. So this is forgot password. All right, and this is right. Did that? Nope. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite this verification flow. Okay, so the first thing is, as I said earlier, make sure that your work is being arranged properly. Please do confirm you can still hear me. All right, thank you. All right, so and we said also in that process, um, clearly state what is ready and what's not. So that's why we are having this section, which says ready for development. So with that, that tells users, oh yes, that this is actually ready. So remember I said always also name your styles, all right? So you can see I make sure that I name all this. So this is my loader, this is my sign in active, then my sign in password check. So this checks well. There's so let's see. active password check. Okay, so I think that was a copy. So my sign up password does not match. So my sign up field or password match. All right. So that is me naming my styles for or naming my frames. And also when naming styles, you can notice, I think while doing variables, you notice that my naming conversion with, so if you look at here, we are having brand color. All right. So that shows that this is my brand color. All right. So now let's look at this section where we are having styles. And so for typography, always make sure that your typography is out, telling users or telling developers where to use it. Can now say that I said this is my display, right? And my display, this is the font, and this is the weight, and this is my line height, and this is my letter spacing. And then you can also use this to tag it if you want to display large. So when doing this, tell your developers actually hold this, list out all the fonts that you have used. If you are using this particular one, you are using bold and semi-bold, you are using bold for it also, make sure you list it out too. All right. Then when it comes to color, I want to believe most of us you've been seeing it. This is my color palette from my Figma, how I do it. So you can now see that on my base color I have my color, and I also have the color code here. All right, I have the color code. I did not just drop the color here and then leave it for the developers to think of a way to come up with the color for that. So I give them the, this is an HEX color code. All right, so I give them that color code. So you can give, there are also a lot of color however you might want to do it. So this is let's say you want to, this is where you get it for this section, right? This is, so you can look at it here, though this is my color code for this section. So you can also decide that, oh yes, you don't want it in this format, that you want them to have it in RGB. So you can also write that out for them. All right. Then is it CSS that you want it? You can also write that for them. And then Figma has it all here for users. So HEX is always most times more realistic and also easy, all right, for developers to remember. Right. So I also have icons. So for icons, all right. So we have brand icon, which is my brand color. Then I have other icons here that I will use, essentials, design tools. So you can get these icons from the Figma community and then put it up as you want to arrange it on your. Then for assets, yes, we all have assets here, which can be what you are using on your design or how it is actually going to show on your design. Please confirm you can still hear me. All right, thank you, Theophilus. Okay, so now let's go into most um uh personally, I'll always advise. So we are done. This is essentially all you need for colors. All right. This is essentially all you need for colors. So you can see that on my color, I use color main, color 50, and the rest of it to show users or developers how that is going to work. So don't just say color secondary V1, secondary V2. Make sure that you know what you are naming them. All right. Then for icons, so how do we do this? So most times users can always come or developers can always come here. So let me use this logo for an example. They can always come here. They can always come here and then get their sizes. But what if that is not the best? What if we don't want to do it that way? So we have what we call there are other plugins. I think we are going to look into that later. But let's look at dev mode. All right, let's look at the dev mode for instance. So how do you go into dev mode? If you look at your panel bar here, you can now see if you over on the last icon on your toolbar where you have this downside where you have your other shapes. So you can now see dev mode or where we have draw. Then you have your main design. So you can switch there you can switch to dev mode by clicking there, or you can also use your Shift D as the shortcut to switch between your design and then to switch between your dev mode. All right. So if you look at this, if a developer hovers on this, so you can see that he has given the developer that it is 20 by 24 by 20 pixel. All right. And this is, remember when we spoke about codes, right? When we talk about using the code panel. So this is what we mean by the code panel, right? So this is the code panel. So we said users can switch between HTML, can switch between strips, can switch between CSS, right? So this is, so where the users, if let's say Paraventure is designing for or is building a web for web, right? So you now know for web that is CSS that we use in that particular. So you have to switch between to your CSS. All right. And with that, the user or the developer is now going to get the HTML and also the CSS over here. Sorry, this is a CSS. All right. So this is the layout, this CSS, and this is this particular icon. This is building it. All right. So if I click on these two, it does the same thing over here. All right. So let's say it's building for iOS. iOS is usually Swift. So this is iOS for iOS. So you can just say Swift UI. So that gives you the code for that too. All right. So you can now see that it's now showing, oh, this is padding top and bottom. Well, this might not be necessary knowing the components or the inside of it, because while doing this, you have to export this, or the developer will have to export this as an image or exactly as a container inside it. It does not need to export it separately. So how do a user export that? You just have to come down here and then on your export. So this is what you'll be showing to your design or to your developer, right? So just click on export. Does he want it as a PNG, or does a SVG, or well, not a PDF, can never be a PDF. So it's usually a PNG, JPEG, or SVG. All right. So those are majorly the three, but JPEG most times they don't use it, because JPEG, that means I'll have to most times crop out the background if there was a background. But PNG, if there's no background, it will fit in very well. Then SVG, the same thing. SVG is always light. So most times developers prefer you exporting components or exporting images as SVG for them, because that is going to be more lighter and yeah, more lighter. All right. So so that is, we also have, remember when we spoke about where to get see the components of each of these. So this is actually the main component. So that's why you are seeing this to be main components. Is a content. So if you click on, so this is actually the main component, right? So that's why you are seeing this as the main component. Okay. So let's say a user. That's why I said make sure you give them the link that leads them to this particular site, or also show them this section too. So let's go back to our design file or our design section. So let's say let me use my thumbnail for an example. So let's say the user or the developer was here. All right. So since the developer was here, let's switch back to, so you can now see compare with main component. All right. So the person will now go to the main component. This is how this is going to show. So this is how it works, or this is the you can now see on my main component I had it as a color, but over here I have it as white because of the background I used. Okay, so that's why you are having that. So you can switch comparing the changes that was being made. All right, so these are the features you have to tell or you have to show up to your developers while working on this. Okay, so you can also go to the main components from here, and that's for developers, right? So they can just come here and then see how that works, right? See how that works. Okay, so let's go back to, so that is you doing this. So in most cases, it is always advisable that you tell your developer um, the sizes of this. So my main size of this is 24. Showing here should be 24 by 24. Yeah, but in for some reason that switched to 22 by 24. So okay, so yeah. All right, so let's go into, you can now see this section here is showing you that if I click inside again, or if I click out, it's now going to change to that this is the padding, but this particular section will work well for when it comes to the design part of it. So let's go into the sending out nope, we need it, sorry, that has to be on top, so we need it ready for dev. So let's see. So now, before now, most times uh when doing handoff, it was always cumbersome. So that's why most people went into using Zeppelin, right? Using Zeppelin. But now let's see. So now there is this particular, let's look at how to tell. Remember we said for you to do this handoff that you need to use a wireframing, right? We said also you have to annotate and explain. So we are going to look that and then see how that is. Well, I said before, the first step I told us was creating a template, but for now, not really for now, like we don't go into, except you want to actually customize your annotations and also your, yes, you want to customize it as you want it to, but there are plugins that can be used for that. All right, there are plugins that can be used for that. So we said your handoff deliverables will be user flow, which can be text flow, can be chat flow, and can be screens or wireframes. Also we said can be a good prototype and also animations. All right, so let's see. So we are going to use a plugin called, you type in a plugin called Autoflow. All right. So we are going to use a plugin called Autoflow. So Autoflow is what helps you move from a particular screen to a particular screen. So let's wait for it while it loads. All right, so this is how it looks like. So auto flow. So so I will tell I want to tell the developer that from year to year, it is after some level of delay. All right, some level of delay. That is when I want it to move to year. Remember, this is a loader. It is actually loading. This is a loading state. So what I will do is I will click on my shift. All right, click on your shift. Then I will choose how I want it to be. Okay, so I want to use the white color of this. So I want to use a white color. So I'm just going to use a color code for that. Then I'm going to press my shift and then select this. All right. So remember to hold your shift. So I click on this first screen holding my shift. Then I also click on this second one holding my shift. So this is going to come up. make sure you don't let go of your sheet. So you can now see that this, I've linked this from here. And now I want to tell the developer that this is going to be after some level of delay. So you can now see where we have add text here. So I can say after so I can say after 300 milliseconds. All right. So I can say after 300 milliseconds that it should move to this particular screen. Right. So let me just take this out. So you can just rearrange that. So you can see it auto adjusts itself to this. So it makes work easy, right? So after 300 milliseconds, it should move into this. So that's how many the time it should take for my loader should work. But 300 milliseconds is actually too small because that is 3 seconds. So I can say no, that's yep, that's 3 seconds. Well, yeah, that's we can still go with that. Okay, I say 5 seconds, all right, so as to make the user see my wonderful animation. Okay, so that's just by the way. Then over here, I can now say this is where I will now use, I can now use to explain, right? So I can now use my annotation. So we'll now, let's just, okay, let's link this up. Let's link this up. Let's link this up first. Then we'll now go into that section. So I'm just going to say from this screen, it is going to now move to this particular screen, right? Then hold on. I don't need a text there. All right. Sorry guys about that. Please confirm you can hear me. All right. Thank you, Tiflos. So let's go back to, but please hold on. Let me. All right. So where were we? So let's link up this other page. So by clicking on your shifts, you click where you want it to link to, and then where you want it to link to. So over here, I'll just allow it to be. I'll just allow this to be. All right. So let's go into the next section. So the next thing you can do is to actually hold on, please. All right, so the next thing you can do is, please hold on, the system is hanging. So the next thing you can do is to tell your developer how you want this to be, right? So I'm just going to tell my developer that this is the default screen, right? So there is a plugin to use for that. So the plugin is called right, Specs. So this is, we also have other plugins. Hold on, let me see if I can see that. Yeah, no. Is it? Hold on, please. No, that's not it. It's called Notes. So you can use Notes for that. Hold on, let this load up. It's Notes, not. I'm going to explain these specs later. Um, I'm going to explain these specs later. All right, so this is the Notes. So I'm just going to take this down here. All right, so this is how the notes looks like. So is it left? I want it to side from top. All right, so imagine you were working with a lot of users. So the advantage of this is this shows you the day, and this shows, oh, it is new. Or you can just say it's not new, it is a change that I made, or it is condition. All right, which is a condition I want to do. If it is an update, you change it here, and if it is a question, you can do that here. And if it is actually a note, you can tell your developer to also note. So I'm going to give here as a condition. Then this is from top, is how do I want to position this. So if I had space, I would have just put it at the bottom. I can put it at the right. So over here, I want to tell users, I want to tell my developer that this is the default, all right, the default page or screen for a sign in, a sign in, a sign in flow. All right. So this is the default page for a sign in flow. So that's what I just told my developer. So this, all right. So with that my developer will now know that, oh, this is the, you remember, you can also mention your using the at, all right. So you can also mention your developers or whosoever you want the person to know, all right. Yep, so this is for this, all right. So but I want it to be regular, yep, for short. Yeah, so short is okay. So because I just the entire page I am just talking about. Okay, so this is me telling that this is it. So this is the default page. So this is supposed to be, this is a note, not a condition. This is a note. All right. So this is not a condition. So it is a note. So I'm just going to duplicate this. So instead of me going through that this thing again, I'm just going to keep this towards here, drop it note, and then make it regular. Let it be longer a little. So then I'm going to drag out. I'm just going to drop this here and then make this long. Yeah, or still regular too. No, long is okay. Let me make it long. Then I'll drop this down. So I'm going to tell my developer that there's a condition. So the button, yep, the button remains disabled, or you can say default, is at default until the both or required fields not requirements, required fields has been filled. All right. So that I'm telling the developer that this remains it remains filled, it remains at default or remains at disabled until I have a user has entered email or a user has entered the password. Remember, I'm not checking in for my password here. I'm not checking in for my email here. It's just the state of this icon that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to what did I duplicate? So I'm just going to hold on. So I'm just going to duplicate this again. Then I'm going to take it to this other screen. Okay, it will not work. So that's because it's only on this particular section of the frame. So for me to now explain, I think I have explained mostly everything that I need on this particular section. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is to tell users or to tell my developer that, oh yes, my well. So this is it. So this is the flow for that condition here, that this should be at so when you've explained that to your developer, he's now going to understand, oh yeah, this is a particular flow that shows that, oh yes, this particular has been filled, this is has been filled, so this has become active. Okay, then I can also do the same thing here, that if password is incorrect, that this should pop up. So I can just go ahead and set note. Let's take that down. Then I want it to be condition. Then I still want it to be top. All right. So password um, if password does not match the database, does not match the database, all right, there should be an error message. Okay, so there should be an error message. So I can just take this towards this area and then change this, yeah, from top. Then I change this to extra long. Well. This still hasn't reached where I want it to. Then that would mean I'll take this to bottom, all right, and then make it short, and then take this up, right? So there's no condition that it has to be only from this particular section, all right? Then I can also put in, right, can also put in this thing here. It says bottom, so this will show that this will also be a condition. I'm just going to copy this and then I'm going to paste it here, that if password do match, right, if password do match the database, there should be a success message. All right, so this is ways we can actually tell users. So it varies. You can tell your developer yep, you can tell your developer, explain in your best way how you want the developer to understand this. All right, so I'm going to show us the last thing we can do to make the developer's life easy. So I'm just going to pick a screen here, and then this is documentation we are going to do. Remember, I said you should always document your work. All right, so let's look at documentation. So let's look at the documentation. So when we say documentation, that's where I'm going to now bring in right. So this is where I'm going to now bring in the specs, all right, this particular plugin. All right, so I always make sure that this is all this will not really work because this is an upgrade version. So for we will have properties and then we'll also have layouts. So before now, what we used to do All right, let me just take this out. Before now, you can actually help developers from going into this dev mode, which most times they can still go into it because, well, they want to go into it so that they can have all these codes and the rest. Then imagine a developer coming checking this one after another after getting the code, or well, they know how to code now. So after getting the code for one of these, which you actually know this is going to be a duplicate, so you just come here and be checking the sizes, this and this, what is the difference, this, what is going on here, and what is happening here. So instead of this, instead of a developer going through all this, all right. So instead of developer going through all this, there is what you can do to actually help the developer. And this we are going to use, let me use a simple a simple one for this. So I'm just going to pick this since this is a little bit filled up. So I'm just going to pick this. So what you do is you run this particular plugin called Specs. All right. So when you run the plugin, make sure that this is clicked out. I want the alignment and direction to show. I want the resizing remark, and then I also want properties. Right. So I'm just going to run it. Then give it time to run. Right, so give it time to run. It's going to take a bit time because depending on the complex of your particular design. All right, so let's hold on. All right, so it has gotten my design for the active sign up state. So I'm just going to close this, and then if you look at it, has created this. So let's look at this. Looking at this, it has broken down all my elements inside this particular frame, right? That's broken it down. So if you look at the right side of it, it has said number one, which is my sign in, which is my active. So this is my entire width, and then my height of it, and this is my background color. That has done that. Instead of developers going through this, selecting it after one after another. All right. Then we also have that there is a number two frame. To know those, you have to go into this. So if you look at here, you have your numbering, right? So you have number one, which happens to be here, and then you also have your number two frame, which is this section here. So this is my number two frame, this is my number three, and that is going to help. So do you see why it is advisable to name your components and then to name your elements? You see, after I have named it, so my designers or my developers will now know, oh yes, so this is it, this is how it is going. So by inputs, checkbox text, which you now know, oh, checkbox text, apart from the fact that, oh yes, there is a number in there, so you can now know this is the file with this, so that this is my checkbox text. All right, so that is one of the ways you can do your handoff to your developers. All right, right. So then, so recap and closing. Okay, so um handing off your design or handing your design to developers isn't the finish line. It is just the start of a shared build phase. All right, keep communication open so that you can answer questions, clarify details, and support the team as they bring your design to life. All right, be actively involved in quality assurance, right, to confirm what is being built or what is being built matches your vision. Catching inconsistency early keep Catching it consistently early keeps the product aligned with original design intent, and also the effort you put into your first handoff sets the tone for all future ones. All right, creating a high standard for collaboration, product quality, trust between design and development. With clear communication and teamwork, any challenge can be solved quickly and smoothly. Right, a good design handoff isn't just about sending files; it's about transferring understanding. It's a collaborative moment where design intent meets technical execution. All right, the more structured and transparent the progress is, the smoother the build phase is going to be. right? So share. So your key point is share early, often. Don't wait for final designs. All right. Organize files and pages so that developers know what is ready. Use components and styles with documentation to create a single source of truth. Enable developers with code panel. All right. So this is with code panel and viewer access. Remember, I said don't give them edit access. So I recommend giving them viewer access, and then also walk them through the code panel. This is going to build trust through continuous collaboration, right? So I think we have resources here for you to look at. If you feel you can use Zipline for your design, I have all those resources here. The time wouldn't be enough for us to look into Zipline. I would have showed you how to also use Zipline for your handoff tutorials. All right, so do we have any question for today's class? Um, Theophilus, you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the class. I wanted to ask: is Zeppelin free?
Yeah, Zipline is free. Yeah, to some extent, there's some just like Figma. There's some basic things you can do, and also you have to pay too. So that's why I always recommend using Figma for it, right? Because with Figma, you can just basically you just have to do everything there. There is design there. There is handoff there. So Figma is what I use is always Figma. I use Figma for my handoff. All right. So Figma is recommended. Like that's what I recommend because you have your design files there. Instead of a company paying for Zipline and also paying for Figma plan, also they just pay for Figma and that is enough. All right. So Zipline, well, it's free. It's free. You can there's a free plan for Zipline, but my recommendation is Figma. All right, Zinab, go ahead.
All right, sir. Well done, sir.
All
While
right.
you were going through your note, you said something about optimizing our file. And then, since we are going to submit with this sectioning and Figma, what's the point of optimizing? And you also promised to show us a plugin that we can use to optimize. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, there's something I've not showed you guys. Thank you very much for bringing that to my notice. Okay, so I told you that when exporting, so let's go back to our Figma. So let's say, do I have any image here? Do I have any image here? So let me just bring in an image to, where do I put it? Hmm. So let me just create let me just do something here. All right, so there's a room here. So let me just do something here. So let's say we have an image here. All right. So let's say we have an image here. So let's say this was how my design was. All right. So let's say this was how my design was. I'm just going to take this off. Send to down. Then I'm going to align this section. But that is not inside. Okay. So I'm going to yep. So take this to the back. So let's say this was how it was. Let me just bring in an image here. So let me just bring in an image. I want to show us something. Then I'm going to show us with practical example while working with Code House. How I did mine, right? How I did the yes, how I shared my images or my assets with developers, even though I was not consistent with it, but it was helping them, right? We're talking about finance. So let me just bring in finance here. Ah, let me just bring in a random image here. Okay, so I have an image here. So remember that let me move this out. Let me close this on Splash. So remember that when doing this, that you have to scale it for mobile responsiveness. All right, you have to scale it for the responsive part of it. Let me just remove this color. Yep, just to make it. Sorry, I'm not supposed to even do this because this is just white and it white is as can show well. Okay, so let's say this was how it was. All right, so this was how my design was. Okay, so now I want to give this image to developers. Right, so what you will do is you come down and then click on export. I always like exporting as PNG, and also make sure that you rename it. Right, don't just export it like that. So I can now say that this is my sign sign in sign in um bg message or image, sorry. All right, uh or I can say you can just name it anycom, so that when you export it, all right, it will now show. So it should be 1x. All right, 1x is exactly how it is on your design. So I'm just going to export that. Right, so when you click on that, just export it. You're going to see a pop-up, so you can just save it. Right, so most times when you export and then it pops up, you can still rename your file in that process. Okay, so now while so that's how to do it first. So then let's say I was doing for well for mobile we don't need this particular screen. So while doing mobile responsiveness, we always remove this particular screen, so we only have the input field as our mobile responsiveness. Okay, so let's see. I was saying I was going to show you how I did it while at CodeHouse. So let me see. Let me open. Hold on, let me check this. All right. So what I told us that earlier on, I used Figma, sorry, Google Drive for this. So what I do is let's go to my drive. Let's see. Um, do I have here? All right. So this is one. I think job board was one of the projects I worked. So this is how. So if you look at it, I had where I have components. All right. So components. My components was GIF. All right. All right. They were GIFs. Right. If you can see, these were GIFs. So I had to give them this, so that this was the loader we used. I think we also did two variations, so they can actually choose on which one they actually want to take. All right. So we also there was also a place where I have mobile. Okay, so well, unfortunately, I did not keep up with this section because I think they already had this. Okay, 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 okay. So this is where I had my desktop. So what I used for my desktop hero section, this is what I used for my main component. There was a section I used that, and there was also for mobile responsiveness. So for the responsiveness, how was it looking at? Well, I think I did mix this up because this is supposed to be for the web, not responsiveness. Anyway, so this is how I do mine. So you can also get that where you have desktop, Then you also have the responsiveness. Responsiveness. In my own case, I design for most times only for the mobile. So most times if you want to have desktop, you have tablets, and you also have your mobile. Because why I only design for mobile most times is tablets most times um has the same dimension in most times. Well, it's just a little tweak that is now going to, it's always most times the same arrangement as that of a desktop. All right. So I think I okay, I don't think there is any other. Can't stand to see another one who would have showed us how that also I did that. Okay, so that's how you can do this. So when we talk about optimizing, all right, optimizing images. Most times, most times it is always the the developer that does that. But there is a website that you can use in doing that. So one of them is hold on, let me set this guy down. So one of them is always uh, tiny png, right? Yep, tiny png. So if in tiny png, so you can also compress your images. You can compress it. You just have to drag and drop here, and that will do the work for you. So I don't think tiny png has that for we have that for Figma, right? I don't think we have tiny png for Figma. So okay, yeah, I think we do have that. So you can also use that most time, or you can just come to this section and then do your particular work. Right? You can optimize from this section. So if a developer is using it, you can also, there's always a Node.js, and also there's an API reference. There's a library where they can also do that. So there are other ways, and there are tiny JPEG. All right, this is just other form of companies. All right, so our products. So that's ways that we can always do that. All right, any other question? Zirab, I hope that's fine with you. You understand that you can go ahead to do that later. All right, any other question? So I'm going to take that as a no, that we are all okay. So thank you very much for the class. If you have any question or whatsoever concerning, let me do that. Let me do that on this call. All right, let me do that on this call so that if anybody else, let me not stop. I wanted to stop the recording, but let me use this as an advantage to other persons. All right, so let's look at let me ask you a question first. All right, Vera, I hope you can talk. You can unmute, right?
Hello, sir. Yes, please.
Okay, so how is your new task going?
Um, to be sincere, I haven't started. My system crashed, but I'll start. I'll start very soon. I'm working on it.
Okay, then you will
Yeah.
not you will not be on the same shoe that other persons have been. Let me see.
Mhm.
Mr. Yemi, I hope you can talk. Okay. Sorry, I think my mouthpiece went off. Hold on. Give me. Why? All right. Sorry. Let me see. Let me see this. Please confirm you can still hear me. Let me use this. All right. Thank you, Vera. Okay. Mr. Yemi, can you hear me now? Um, okay, I'll take that as he's not available to talk at the moment. Okay, so let's look at all right, let me just let's stop recording. Right, let's stop. Should I? Yep.